What year that was done?
Well, we went to the Gang Games in '94. It was probably '94, '95,
Okay.
approximately.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm rolling, Jeff.
Okay.
Okay.
So, just for production purposes, if you could just
Sure.
say your name and spell it
bet.
for us so we have the
Yeah.
correct spelling.
Sure, I'm David Morris, Morris.
Okay. Great. Well, Dave, maybe we can just start off with a little bit about your own background, where you grew up and how you landed in West Michigan.
Sure. Well, I was born in the Detroit area, but grew up most of my early years in the Kalamazoo, Galesburg area. Grew up in the country out in Galesburg, graduated from Western Michigan University. And when I was attending school, I met my partner here in Grand Rapids and graduated in '78 and moved up here. So I've been up here in Grand Rapids since '78. My partner Frank and I have been together for 35 years, excuse me. We met in '76. And we got married in San Francisco in 2008, the day before Proposition 8 was overturned. And so we got in under the wire there.
Yeah.
And
Couldn't you talk a little bit about, maybe when you were growing up, about maybe at what point in your own life when you had realized that you were gay, and the context of that, and
Yeah.
what kind of either the difficulty or the levels of support maybe you had with family or friends and
Yeah.
so forth?
Yeah. Well, growing up, I really didn't know any gay people. I didn't know what gay meant. I knew that I felt different. And gay people were something that I heard that people that were really ridiculed and made fun of. I didn't really realize that I was gay until my early 20s. That was kind of a gradual process when I came out into college. And so I came out to my family first, and my brothers and sisters were pretty supportive. I think my parents had a harder time with that. So I think I felt growing up a certain sense of isolation and a feeling of being different. I didn't really reconcile until I started meeting other gay people, and I formed this running group, Grand Rapids Front Runners, with other people starting here in Grand Rapids.
It's not uncommon for campuses these days to have, an LGBT resource center of some form,
Yeah.
like Grand Valley does. What it had meant to you when you were at college at Western in the '70s, what difference would it have made to you to have some kind of a institutional support like an LGBT resource center?
Well, I think it would have been great just having that institutional sense of support there. When I was going to school, I'd met other people that we came out to each other as gay and enjoyed gay friendships when I was in college. And I've always felt with teachers there, very supportive. I actually went to a very gay-friendly curriculum. I graduated in the dance department at Western, so of course there was that. So I always felt that personal level of support, but not quite so much maybe at the level in the institution. Yeah.
So you moved to Grand Rapids then, and you've been here for 30 years roughly?
Yeah, well, yeah, a little over 30 years.
A little over 30
Yeah.
years.
Mm-hmm.
What kinds of things in your mind have been noticeable changes or shifts, in terms of many more opportunities, how much more sort of public space, or sort of any cultural shifts that you could identify over the last 30 years, as specifically as it relates to the LGBT community?
Well, in some ways, I think there's always been a very polarized environment sometimes in Grand Rapids. I have that sense. Very active gay community, I feel a pretty strong, sensible gay community, but also in a very conservative environment. I see things changing. I see that being different for younger people. I think it's easier for younger people to be out now. But at the same time, there's this kind of strong religious sort of intolerance that we have to deal with as gay people in this community.
Mm-hmm. I know that you have some history with an organization like the Network. Can you talk a little bit about your involvement and why you chose to kind of take an active role in that kind of an organization?
Sure. Well, when I first got started being interested in starting a front runners group, I went to the Gay Games in 1990 in Vancouver and heard about front runners, and I knew that the Gay Games in New York City were coming up, and thought I'd put that out there for other gay runners to get together and join in a team for that event. And the network was about one of the only ways to get the word out in a published format, and also at Sons and Daughters to put the word out for other people that might be interested. And so the network was always a good communication, I think, for the community. So I started to become involved and volunteering, became a membership coordinator, and eventually took over for a short time as the president of the board. So yeah, I think that's always been a big part. And seeing what happened in the city, I think, with the network. Mary Bankhart was pretty influential in communicating, I think, with then Mayor Logie, and attempting to get co-sponsorship of the Pride celebration with the city. And I think it was Mayor Logie, maybe it was the guy before him. That was turned down by the city for co-sponsorship, and that kind of was the impetus for us to start our Pride 5K here in Grand Rapids. Hmm. We started the Pride 5K in '95 after we came back from the Gay Games.
Hmm. So talk about it for people who have no familiarity with the Front Runners and Walkers group, and what's the kind of the mission, and what benefit is it for people to kind of be a part of that entity?
Sure. Well, when our mission statement when we started the group was to support a health and fitness focus in the gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered community, and to provide support for people interested in participating in local and international competition, like the Gay Games, and as a way for people to come out, I think, as a way for people to connect with one more sense of being able to connect with a running or walking group and have that camaraderie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like a lot of other issues, civil rights issues, certainly the struggle for LGBT folks within kind of the sports world has been kind of an ongoing sort of struggle in many ways, and we see even more recently with, I think, in the National Basketball Association, some, star athletes making disparaging comments or using words that were sort of discriminatory towards the LGBT community. But I'm just wondering what your thoughts are about health and fitness and sort of the sports world as a venue for being able to both push for greater equality and to have public conversation about rights of people.
Sure. Well, I think it's just something, it's a part of our lives, and we just need to be honest about who we are. And I think if we're closeted in the sports world, if people feel like they're not going to have support or they're going to be ridiculed, I think they're going to be less likely to be honest about who they are and a little bit more guarded. What I found that participating in Gay Games was especially freeing, because what was incredible is just to realize how many people that are interested in all levels of any sports competition or cultural activities. It was mind-boggling to see the number of people. It is actually the world's largest sports competitive organization in terms of the number of people that participate.
Hmm. What kind of places have you visited where there were gay games in your lifetime?
Well, since 1990, Vancouver, British Columbia, 94 in New York, 1998 Amsterdam in the Netherlands, 2002 in Sydney, Australia. I was a spectator then and not a participant, but I've done swimming and triathlon competitions. And let's see, 2002, so 2006 in Chicago. A team of us, front runners, did a triathlon, and we won the gold medal in the team competition of triathlon. And most recently, 2010 in Cologne, Germany, and our same team members from Chicago won the bronze medal in team competition triathlon. So,
you shared with me a copy of a publication that was put out in celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Grand Rapids Front Runners. Does this organization have? Is it very visible? And I'm just sort of wondering, like with kind of the popularity and the notoriety of the river bank run here, the big marathon that takes place. Is that does that provide an opportunity for front runners to even have more visibility, to sort of say, people in the LGBT community are also actively involved in these kinds of activities?
Well, I hope that it has been. It is. We recently have not staged our Pride 5K. I think membership has changed. We originally were mostly a running group that evolved and changed over time. Runners moved on and or became walkers, and so the membership has changed. And because we're no longer doing the Pride 5K any longer, we're no longer incorporated. I think for a long time, I hope for a long time, it's provided an opportunity, especially with the Pride 5K. At least it was one day where a lot of people could come together and enjoy both straight and gay alike an event that was organized and organized to benefit the gay community and gay-friendly organizations.
You mentioned earlier that you sort of see some of the history in Grand Rapids as being sort of polarized, and that part because of the religious right element here in West Michigan. What kind of things do you think need to happen to maybe make West Michigan, or in Grand Rapids in particular, maybe a more open, welcoming, affirming community? I mean, what kind of stuff do you think needs to take place for that to be the case?
Oh, well, a lot. We need a lot nationally. We need to, need to repeal DOMA. I think our state constitution has kind of got discrimination built into it. I see smaller groups on a grassroots level recognizing more and kind of taking the lead for non-discrimination and including sexual orientation as part of their non-discrimination part, and being inclusive. And so I see that happening in more businesses, more educational institutions. I think more churches. I think things are going to eventually change just because younger people's attitudes have changed, and I think eventually that's just going to be, hopefully, a non-issue.
Well, and it's sort of part of the issue, and the intent of this project is to both collect the stories and have a sense of this history. I mean, how important do you think it is for people now and for the future to have understanding of where we've come from, even if it's just local, focused on just, kind of Grand Rapids in general?
Well, I think it's really important, because I think people that say that it's not an issue, that I can't see where you're being discriminated against don't have that sense of, you know, not being able to be married in the state of Michigan, and have all the benefits that come from that. And even though we've come a long way, there's a long way to go. And I think Grand Rapids is fortunately a leader. We see what's happened lately in Holland, Michigan, with that failing, their non-discrimination. I think that's just pretty important on a local, state, and national level. Hopefully, you know, hopefully you're going to see some nice changes here.
Oh. Well, another intent of this project is to think that it might have some longevity, and that maybe 20, 30 years from now, you know, students in high school would maybe be viewing both the documentary and the interviews just to kind of have a sense of like, well, what were things like, you know, 30, 40 years ago, and we don't know what it's going to be like 2 or 3 decades from now. But certainly people are always, particularly young folks, are just always going to be struggling with their own identities in some kind of capacity. Yeah. So what words of encouragement might you have for kids who might see this, you know, 20, 30 years down the road about what's important in terms of, you know, being true to yourself?
Well, I think you know, the recent project that Dan Savage is doing, you know, that it gets better. Kind of wish I had heard that in some sense growing up. I have a brother who's gay. That I saw him kind of going through the struggle of recognizing his attraction and his a relationship that he wanted to have, and kind of hearing that going on. I guess I'd like to, yeah, I think that really kind of sums it up. I just have so much respect for what Dan Savage is doing, and It Gets Better, and that it does. That it really does. That we can kind of survive the insults, and that our day will come, you know?
Okay. Well, I didn't have any other questions, but for something that we haven't addressed that you would like to speak to,
yeah.
You know?
I guess just one thing that I think that I'm particularly proud of with the front runners, and that I just wanted to make as a part of the history. We're no longer doing the Pride 5K, but over the 14 years that we did stage the Pride 5K, that we did raise over $50,000 to contribute it to gay and gay-friendly organizations to hopefully make things better in this community. So I'm proud of that.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for speaking with us, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.